Okay, so I've never actually designed or built an instrument, but I have designed and built a lot of furniture. The main instrument I play is the banjo, and it can just be kind of twangy and tinny sounding after a while. And you know, everyone has a guitar. Every bearded old white guy, hey, and his kids, hey! They're just so basic. So I thought, what would it be like if I designed and built an instrument just for myself? But it turns out inventing a brand new instrument is a lot harder than it seems. Let's see what I can come up with. So the first instrument that made me start thinking about this was the kora. It's a traditional instrument from Africa, and it's basically a bunch of strings with a bridge over a drum. So that's where I started, and believe it or not, this was my first drawing. It looks really dumb and I'm pretty embarrassed about it, but just a drum with a neck and strings attached to it. But eventually I thought, okay, maybe I could have something more like a cajon that sits on the floor and has strings on both sides. So I came up with this. Pretty soon after that, I thought, well, if I could play melody on one side and have a couple different octaves, then on the other side, maybe I could have chords that I could play. So the idea is that one side will be tuned to sets of strings that'll make chords, and then the other side will be tuned to a couple octaves or scales that I could play open and pick a melody out. And that's where I've started. So all design is really an iterative process, meaning that you make something, you make some changes, and then you make it again over and over in different iterations, and hopefully it just gets better and better over time. So an instrument like the guitar or the banjo, there's been thousands of different variations and design updates over hundreds and hundreds of years. With this instrument, I don't have that because, well, it's kind of a new configuration. I've never seen two sides on kind of a drum bass like the cajon, and so there's a lot of things I just don't know because I haven't seen it done before. Now, having said that, I can look at guitars and harps and some other instruments this is similar to and get some design ideas. One of the things I learned from looking at how acoustic guitars are built is that they don't have parallel edges. The sides are all curved. Even the tops have a little curve to them typically, so the front and the back aren't exactly parallel. And I think that helps the sound quality as the sound waves bounce around and reverberate on the inside of the instrument. So with my box here, I'm trying to make sure I don't have any parallel surfaces. I decided to put screws in it at this stage to hold everything together and tight. And I didn't know if in the end I actually wanted to glue it at all because I wanted to be able to change out pieces and switch things around. So right now I'm just screwing it together to make sure everything fits and hold it together while I'm working and making other measurements and so forth. I have a favor to ask you guys. While you're watching this video, try and come up with a name for this instrument. I don't know what to call it. And I would love for you to comment below and let me know what you think I should call this crazy thing. If you've been watching my videos for any length of time, you would probably agree with me when I say I don't consider myself a fine woodworker. I just don't have a lot of experience in doing dovetails and interesting joints and stuff like that. But I have something inside of me where I want to design innovative and unique things, and I want to take you along on that process with me. So this work I'm doing here, it's not perfect, but I'm figuring it out as I go, and I think all of you can do the same. You just got to get to it and get it done. One of the really frustrating things about this was anytime I thought I had some unique or innovative idea, turns out it had been done before. Even the idea of having the 5 open chords that you could play, turns out there's a kind of German zither or something like that from several hundred years ago that is designed that way. One of my ideas was to have a lot of different sympathetic strings, so you'd be playing and it'd have nice full big sound. Other strings would be vibrating. Well, that's very much like a sitar. So a lot of these things I took inspiration from other instruments, and I feel like maybe it's just a mishmash of different instruments that are already out there. It's really hard to make a unique and creative acoustic instrument because there's only so many ways to produce sound. So I don't know, maybe you could let me know. Is this just a mashup of a bunch of different instruments, or is it truly creative? I don't know. Okay, so while this glue is drying, I'm going to now work on the bridge, and I guess you'd call it the tailpiece, whatever that is. So I've got this piece of walnut, and I think it's going to work perfect for this. So let's get it cut up. Well, I'm certainly no professional musician, and this isn't turning into a music channel, but it was a really fun challenge to have to think about how to make something I build sound good. Most of the time when you build something, you don't think about that at all, and so it was a fun challenge for me to think about the physics and the sound of something I was making. I am excited to show you what it sounds like at the end of the video, so make sure you watch till the end, and I'll play a couple little ditties for you so you'll be able to hear what it sounds like. No! It's time to start assembling some of this, and I think I'm just gonna glue it together. Originally I was thinking I might just screw some of the major components together, but I really feel like I need to glue it together as well. And it's pretty nerve-wracking because I don't know what it's gonna sound like. I don't know if it's gonna work. I don't know if it's gonna be strong enough. I don't know if it's gonna be too strong. If it's too strong, you know, maybe it won't vibrate good. There won't be enough movement to get a good sound out of it. But I'm just gonna start gluing it together, and that's what the whole process is about. I guess just a big experiment to see if I can make something that sounds good, but I have no clue. I decided to go with the tailpiece attached to the bottom of the instrument rather than having it attached to the top face, because I don't know how strong that's going to be, and I don't want to put too much pressure on it given that I've got 15 strings on each side. I just don't know if that soundboard could hold all the pressure pulling up from the strings, so I decided to put a fairly significant structural piece down here and then attach it to that. So now I've got to drill the holes to run my dowels through that I will attach the tailpiece onto. Got this taped on here to hopefully get it lined up nicely. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Dad!
What?
It's the worst thing ever. Harry Styles is the #1 most famous singer in the U.S.
Why is that a problem?
Because Mommy loves Harry Styles so much, and she has a crush on him, and he has terrible songs.
That's not the worst thing ever. Does she really have a crush on him?
Yeah.
Alright, well, maybe once I get this harp finished, she'll change her mind. Well, I've got the tail pieces made. I think they're going to work out great. Now I've got to build the bridge. I'm going to keep it pretty simple and see how it sounds. I think potentially one of the biggest mistakes I'm making is not using like a proper tone wood, like spruce or something like that. I just don't have the right kind of wood to do that, so I'm going to try this kind of plywood. See how it works. I'm not gluing it on, so if I need to, I can unscrew it and replace the tone wood here. But we'll see how it works. It's sometimes better to start cheap and see what you need to change. One of the reasons I am making this harp is because guitars are so easy to make. I made this guitar in literally like 10 minutes. Just kidding. I'm using this to experiment with drilling the right size hole for the tuning pins, different kinds of bridges, and all that sort of stuff. Anyways, one of the things I want to build into my instrument is reverb. A lot of times, even in really good production, springs are used to create reverb sound. So my idea for this is to connect an actual spring to the back of my bridge and then have the other end of the spring connected to another part of the instrument. So that way when the strings are played, you get a little bit of built-in automatic spring reverb. So then the idea would be that just like in a spring reverb device, you excite one end of the spring and those sound waves are carried through the spring, and then you attach it to the other side of the spring to amplify that sound. We'll see if it works, I don't know. Springs are used in reverb tanks, and the sound is digitally recreated as well in pedals and different electronic effects, but I'd never seen it acoustically. But after I came up with the idea, I looked it up, and even this, there's people on YouTube who have put it in cigar box guitars and different things like that. So it seems like almost any idea I had, it's been done before. It's so hard to innovate acoustic instruments. Okay, I am just now getting the first indications of what this might sound like. Let's see. Cool. In order to get the most action possible out of the springs, I screwed them directly into the back of the bridge, so hopefully as much vibration as possible will be transferred to them. Okay, I'm getting excited about this. I think it just might work. So I'm going to set this microphone and see what we can hear of these springs. Okay, I'm gonna mute the springs and hit the box. Now I'm gonna unmute the springs and hit the box. We'll see how that translates to the strings and if it makes good reverb sound. I don't know, but I'm getting pretty excited about it. As I researched guitars, I found that a standard 6-string guitar could have up to 200 pounds of tension on it. And then I was looking at harps, and they could have over 1,200 pounds of tension on them. So the way I attach this tailpiece is going to be pretty critical to keeping the instrument in tune and sounding good. Well, I was trying to use copper to tie the tailpiece on, and it's just looking kind of scrappy, and it's not holding on very good, so I think I'm going to try something else here. Well, I'm kind of bummed out. This isn't working great. It's just, it seems like maybe it's a design flaw on my part. So I'm going to take it off, try it for the third or fourth time, see if I can get it to work. I invited the client in to help me do the voiceover here, but she said, "I never asked for this." So I guess I'm going to have to learn a Harry Styles cover to keep her happy. I think 5th time is the charm. Let's get this thing strung up. As part of my design, I wanted to have nylon strings on the melody side and then steel strings on the chorded side. So hopefully it'll give a little bit of a variation in tone between the two different sides and the different functions they're made for. So I first got it stringed about a week ago, and I've been having to tune it once or twice every day. I think part of it's this nylon. It just keeps stretching. I thought it would kind of reach a point and stop stretching, and even though I've got more than twice as many of these than I do strings, it's just not staying in tune. Part of it is that these are nylon. The other side, where there's steel strings, those are staying in tune better. I'm going to try another solution and see if it works. Secondly, the spring reverb, you can hear it and it's awesome, and I'm really happy about it, but it's just not very loud. The instrument as a whole isn't super loud, so I think I'm going to cut some sound holes. Initially I was worried about ruining this top face here, but I'm not too worried about that because it doesn't sound amazing tonally, and if I have to, I can try and get some sort of solid wood and replace it. Okay, so while I completely mangle this top, listen to that spring reverb. It's crazy. Getting this extra steel cable on actually helped a lot, and now it stays in tune pretty good actually. Okay, well here we are, the somewhat finished product. Now, a couple questions. What would you guys call this thing? I don't know what to call it yet. I was thinking the Artie Harp. One of my nicknames is Art, and my wife likes Artie Harp. Another option my dad thought of was the Harps and Chords. I thought that one was pretty good, but what would you guys call it? Also, put down in the comments, if you were to design and build an instrument only with you in mind, what would that instrument be like? I'd be really curious to hear. I'll start the sound test here by just playing a few notes, and I'll let them ring out. Now, here's what it sounds like if I pluck the string and then mute it, and then you can hear the reverb continuing. And then I'll play a few notes on the side with the steel strings and the chords. So the reverb isn't super loud, and it isn't like super noticeable like it would be with an effects pedal on an electric guitar, but you can still hear it, and it makes the sound a lot more full. If you were to mute the springs, the instrument sounds pretty dry, and so I'm actually pretty happy with how it turned out. I think it does add more than what I've heard on another acoustic instrument, even though it's not super strong of an effect. And there's a few different ways that you can play this. You can pluck bass notes while you play a melody. You can slowly strum the different chords and play some pretty nice harmonies. Strum chords on the left while you play a melody on the right. So overall, I am actually really happy with the way this turned out. For being the first of its kind, I think it's pretty great. There's a lot of different things we could iterate on, but overall, I'm really happy with how it turned out. As always, it's not perfect, but things don't have to be perfect to be wonderful. Thanks for watching.
Come on, Daddy, we want to say goodnight to you.